Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Hockey Discussions Live. This is CFH, and today we will be looking at the top 50 fantasy hockey players heading into the 2025-2026 fantasy hockey season. It's coming, and it's just around the corner. The NHL season is upon us. First game kicking off on October 7th between the Blackhawks and the Florida Panthers. As mentioned, today I am going to go through my ranking of the top 50 fantasy hockey players based on our league settings. A lot of these carry over to most of all of your leagues as well, but depending on league scoring, you might have some variability that some players might not make sense. For example, maybe you have Matt Rempe in your top 50 because you really heavily weight hits and block shots and penalty minutes, where we value them, but just not to the extent that some leagues do. Horrible example, but you get my drift. We might have some variability there. So, if you're not familiar with our league scoring, a few of my videos have gone through what that looks like. I can recap it very quickly. Goals at +3, assists +2, penalty minutes +0.1, power play goals +2, power play assists +1, shorthanded goals +2, shorthanded assists +1, game-winning goals +0.5, hat tricks +2, shots on goal +0.5, hits +0.5, block shots +0.5, goalies have a goalie wins at +4, goals against at -1, saves at +0.3, shutouts at +3, and overtime losses at +1. So you can see that we have a bit of a bangers league going on with the block shots and hits being +0.5, but overall pretty similar to your ESPN standard scoring outside of a few variables there. So I went through, took a list at the player lineup for the season and ranked my top 50 heading into the new year. There's some surprises on here with some folks dropping a lot deeper than they ended the season last year. I'll explain my decision as why, but let's stop wasting time and get on into things. One other note I will say is our league is just position based, so it's not left wing, center, right wing. It's just forward defenseman. So I know that also is a variable when making these decisions, but I just took forward, I took defenseman and added them up into one. So let's start off with the coveted first overall position. If you have this in your draft, you're most likely picking one of these two guys between Connor McDavid and Nathan MacKinnon. And I picked Nathan MacKinnon as the number one ranked player in fantasy in 2025-2026. Reason being, I think MacKinnon is just a shot machine. He shoots the puck a lot more. I think Edmonton as a whole is a great team, but Colorado, I think, could make a pretty large step this season. I think Mackenzie Blackwood shows that he could provide that stability in net, and MacKinnon now will have a full season to play with Martin Necas, and I think that that's only going to unlock more potential for them. We have Gabriel Landeskog coming back, and obviously Cale Makar is going to keep doing what he does. So I put Nathan MacKinnon at 1. Number 2, obviously Connor McDavid being there. He is the best player in the NHL for a reason. I just think if he could stay healthy, then he absolutely solidifies that number 2 spot, if not even competes with Nate for number 1. But I think McDavid at number 2. And then number 3, I went with Nikita Kucherov, absolute beast, 37 goals last year, 84 assists. You know he's good for that again, if not a bit more. Kucherov's a machine, especially on the power play. He had over 46 power play points last season, if I'm reading this correctly. That's incredible. So, I mean, in a league like ours, he's invaluable. I moved down the list there. I have Leon Draisaitl at number 4. Once again, pairing him with Connor McDavid. Draisaitl is also one of the best players in the league. He's a great finisher on the power play. He had 16 goals, 17 assists on the power play, and he had 106 points last season in only 71 games played. So there's a lot of potential there for Draisaitl to even expand on that. So Leon Draisaitl there in the number 4 position for me. Number 5, I have Kirill Kaprizov. That one might come off as a little bit of shock to folks, but Kirill Kaprizov proved he is the real deal, especially in Minnesota. Last season, he only played 41 games, but he was over a point a game at 25 goals, 31 assists. Kaprizov also had 14 power play goals in those games. Kaprizov is a player that if he gets a full 82-game season. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with. The only time in his career he got close to 82 games was an 81 game season in 2021-2022, where he posted 47 goals and 61 assists for 108 points. Kaprizov is as legit as it gets. I mean, if you watched a few of his games, if you've seen him night to night play, and I had the honor of doing so last season because he was a pillar on my team, I followed him a fair amount, and when he's on the ice, he just really takes over possession as well as just overall creativity on the ice. And I think Minnesota in all is really going to kind of step up here, and I'm excited to see how Zeev Buium does with Kirill Kaprizov this season in regards to that Minnesota power play if Buium gets that power play one unit there. Number 6, I put David Pastrnak. Even though he's on a struggling Boston team, I think Pastrnak has the potential to still have a 100-plus point season. I mean, look at him last year. He put up 106 points in 82 games with Boston, and they were just as bad. This year, they'll be a little bit worse, but I think Pasta still finds a way to shoot the puck and put the puck in the back of the net and be involved on plays there. So Pastrnak still in the 6th position for the best player in fantasy hockey. At number 7, we have our first defenseman. I'm sure you could have guessed who that was, Cale Makar. Cale Makar being in this position, I think, is just always good for power play points, being involved in the play. He put up 92 points in 80 games last season. I think he could probably hit 100 this season. Makar also involved in the power play with 12 goals, 23 assists. So that Colorado power play flows through Cale Makar, having him at the point and just kind of having that vision on the ice. Makar has yet to hit 100 points, but this season, it's possible. I mean, last season, 2 seasons ago in 2023, he put up 90 points in 77 games, went up to 92 points this past season in 80 games, and I think you had 2 more games to Makar. They'll put him around 96 points, and I think he can probably fill in that 4-point delta at some point. So Cale Makar there in the 7th position. Then in the 8th position, I put in fantasy beast Brady Tkachuk. In our team, as Team Brown mentioned in his team recap, Tkachuk's just somebody who hits on all categories and all peripherals. Tkachuk just knows how to throw the body. He can put the puck in the back of the net. He had just under 60 points last season, but he had those peripherals that are worth looking at. As he had 296 shots on net, 228 hits, and 33 block shots. So Brady Tkachuk gets involved in the plays and will give you that average night after night that really helps your team stay afloat in maybe slower weeks. Outside of that, number 9, our first goalie, I put Connor Hellebuyck here. Connor Hellebuyck, I crunched all the numbers into the math. Hellebuyck and Vasilevsky are 2 goalies who are just above averages of all the other goalies. I know there's a lot of zero-G strategy talk, but Hellebuyck is somebody that I think is reliable. He's a patented superstar in this league. And I look at averages just last year. If you add up all fantasy point totals, Connor Hellebuyck was at 550 total points. Then you had Vasi at 513. The next closest goalie to them was 460 with Philip Gustafsson. So Hellebuyck attributed almost over 100 fantasy points more than the 3rd best goalie. So I just think that's worth saying. Hellebuyck also was the highest fantasy point total earner in our league. Nathan MacKinnon at 525. So Hellebuyck solidified. Obviously, I don't want to waste my draft capital too high in the draft on a goalie, but Hellebuyck's somebody I think you just need to take a shot on if you have him. Up next, fell to the 10 spot this year. So this one's probably going to have somewhat of second opinion from some of the listeners, but Auston Matthews I put in the 10th position. I'm not that high on Matthews this year, and I'll tell you why. So he had 67 games played last year, 33 goals, 45 assists. Was he fully healthy last season? I don't think so at all, and he still had good production. He's still one of the better players in the league, best players in the league, I should say. Great shot, great power play time, but I want to see what Toronto does without Marner, especially what Matthew does without Marner. You know, you think of a lot of the goals Matthews had. Marner was the visionary on a lot of those goals, helping Matthews set up for these lethal shot positions. So I want to see how Matthews adapts without Marner. If he can, I think the ceiling's the limit. If you see Matthew Nyes take a step, or Michelli, or John Tavares still, or if they put Morgan Riley on the point in that power play, Matthew still has a ceiling to hit. I think when he fully gets this 82-game season for you in fantasy, it's worth, obviously worth a first-round selection, but it'll get him up in the conversation of the top 5 top 8, top 5 players in the league. He had 81 games played in 23-24 and had 107 points. So Matthews is capable of that high ceiling production. It's just there's too much guessing going on with Toronto right now. And Matthews, what's going on with that injury? Is it fully healed? Is he back to full form? I'm just unsure yet. Outside of Matthews, we have Jack Eichel in the 11th position. Jack Eichel, I think I have pretty high in my list because Marner being a playmaker, Jack being a playmaker, I think they're going to work together really well in this power play, as well as they can break Marner and Eichel up with line 1 and 2. That would be great because you have these two established playmakers playing across Vegas, but Eichel, I think, can potentially hit 100 points this season. I would not be surprised if he could. Eichel's going to get you some great power play point totals. He had 29 assists and 5 power play goals last year, so you know he's going to be producing, and I think that Vegas team's really going to be good this year. In the number 12 selection, I have Zach Werenski. Zach Werenski had a career year last year, and this was one of the sleepers in our league in regards to top players, but I think Werenski is the real deal. Columbus will take step forwards this season, I think, still, but Werenski, I think now players are aware of what he can do. So he's going to get a bit more coverage, I think, this year. So I'm curious to see how he adapts his game style. And if he can, then I think you'll be happy taking him just inside the first round, maybe into the second. At 13, I have Jack Hughes. Now, Jack Hughes, the big thing with him is can he stay healthy? Jack Hughes is a player that when he is healthy, he's a 100-point player. He is a force to be reckoned with, but he's dealing with these shoulder injuries, and especially coming off the one he got at the end of last season. How does he come back? Is he, playing through injury and he's not at final form, or is he more or less coming back stronger, better than ever, confident? I guess we'll seem to see, but I think Hughes is a player you have to take a bet on and try to get if available. So I like Jack Hughes there. At 14, I have Kyle Connor with the Winnipeg Jets. Kyle Connor is one of those players that I think has a very high ceiling, can absolutely run up 100 points too, and also has great power play deployment. So Kyle Connor being a lethal shooter, last season he had 97 points, so he is right in the neighborhood, 82 games played. He's somebody who's going to get that deployment, be surrounded with good teams, good players. Kyle Connor is going to be somebody, if he plays full 82 games, I think can definitely hit 100 points this year, if not even a bit higher. So we keep moving on through the list here. Kyle Connor at number 14. I have Andrei Vasilevskiy at 15. Once again, he's a goaltender that, if available this early, he is leaps and bounds ahead of the competition in regards to goaltending. Vasi would still be close to 60 points higher than the next available goalie in terms of fantasy points. He's getting a bit older. He has injuries to deal with, but Tampa's a great team. You know you're going to be getting those win points with Vasi, and he was also one of our goaltenders who had the highest amount of saves last year available. So I always like that is when goalies can get these shots night after night and make the saves. It just solidifies him in the conversation. Now, there has to be a name that a lot of folks are still wondering where he is, why hasn't he been called out yet, and that is Mikko Rantanen. Now, Mikko Rantanen I have ranked at 16, and the reason I have that is because I think Rantanen is going to have an adjustment in Dallas. I don't know if he's going to be getting those elite minutes he had when he was in Colorado playing with Nate McKinnon. Mikko Rantanen will still be a great player. He's still going to be in the conversation of 80 points or so. I think I have Rantanen around 84 points next season. He'll be a point per game player. Most likely he'll get that power play time, but I don't think he's solidified in this upper echelon kind of conversation of fantasy players available, so that's why I put him in 16. Outside of Mikko Rantanen, I moved into Philip Forsberg, huge peripherals guy. I think Nashville was an atrocious team last year, but Forsberg still remained in the conversation night after night. Forsberg just had 76 points last year in 82 games, so just under a point a game per player, but he was our 6th best forward available in our league last year, and for good reason. I mean, he had Forsberg, if you look at his stats, 281 shots, 150 hits, and 52 blocks. I mean, Forsberg's going to be trying to at least get you points, even if he's not on the goal sheet. He'll be shooting the puck and hitting, which I like. At 18, I have Mackenzie Weegar of the Calgary Flames. Weegar being a defenseman who also has great peripherals. He's the potential to do 200, 200, 200 this year, which is always great to see. He's not going to score a bunch, but he actually does get good power play time, so that's something that Weegar, when I was looking at the stats, actually surprised me. I mean, Weegar had 47 points last season with 21 power play points, which I'm a big fan of. 184 shots, 221 hits, and 192 blocks. So Weegar's going to be getting those points for you even if he's not scoring, which I think is valuable in fantasy, especially on the slower nights. At 19, a pretty high rank for me, but I'm high on this guy. Alexander Sasha Barkov here at 19. Sasha Barkov, I think, has a really high ceiling if he could stay healthy. Especially on Florida, Barkov plays hard, and he's also involved in a lot of their success, and he's the captain, right? So a lot of the pulse of that team flows through him. I like Barkov there at 19. At 20, I put Sam Reinhart. 2 Floridas in a row, I understand, but Reinhart had a massive season a few seasons ago. I think he kind of hangs out around the high 70s to low 80s point range moving forward, but Reinhart also a lethal force, great shooter, great producer on Florida. At 21, I have a Buffalo Sabres from your Buffalo Sabres, Tage Thompson. Now, Tage Thompson here at 21, the main reason I put Thompson here is because he shoots the puck. I think Thompson, if playing with Tuck, is going to hit 50 goals this year. He had 44 goals last season in 76 games, so I think Thompson most likely can hit 50 goals if he had, 6 more games in him last year and 82 games played. He could probably hit that 50 goal mark. So Thompson, I'm high on this year. I have him at 21. At 22, even though he's getting older, I still think he's going to be a great player. Sidney Crosby here at pick 22. Then we move to pick 23. I have Rasmus Dahlin from the Buffalo Sabres. Great defenseman. I think he plays a physical brand of hockey. He produces on the power play. He produces on the point totals. Rasmus Dahlin has exactly, if we look here, he was a beast. If I pull up Rasmus Dahlin's points here, 17 goals, 51 assists in 73 games, 200 shots on net. So happy with Dahlin there in the 23rd position. Then we move to 24 and 25, 2 Tampa guys, and 26, 3 Tampa guys in a row. I have Brandon Hagel in 24. He had a career year last year, an absolute beast on Tampa. 25, we have Braden Point, and then we have Jake Gensel. So all those guys, especially if you get Hagel there on the power play, are going to be producing like crazy. Point and Gensel, especially in the power play. If you have guys like that, like you look at Team Brown's setup, he has Gensel, Point. I'm trying to think who else he has from Tampa. I'm blanking on somebody, but he has this trifecta that when they get those power play goals, you know it because you see his fantasy totals go from 200 collective points to next thing you know he's at 255 and he's 50 points ahead of you and you're scratching your head wondering how. So Jake Gensel, Brandon Hagel, Braden Point, and Jake Gensel there at 26. At 27, I have Evan Bouchard ranked here, Edmonton quarterback for the power play, just signed a big contract. That's why I've dropped him a little bit. I know Bush went higher in our draft, but kind of scares me with the contract. I never know how players are going to play once their time comes and once they get paid. Then at 28, I have Quinn Hughes. He fell on my stack too because I'm not that high on Vancouver this year. I think it's tough because I think Quinn Hughes is a player that is going to be deployed well around power play. He had 29 power play points last season, 541 collective fantasy points, 60 assists, elite numbers, but Vancouver's just is not the team for me when I'm thinking of a successful team right now, so that's why I'm a little bit lower on Quinn Hughes. At 29, I have another Toronto, William Nylander. Similar player, I think he's going to produce similar to what he did this past year, if not maybe a little bit higher. If I pull up William Nylander, he was a player that put up close to 80 points, if not maybe over 80 points last season, 45 goals, 39 assists in 82 games. So let's just call that probably over 82 points. So he's over a point a game. He had 253 shots, 14 hits, 27 blocks. The thing with Nylander, I said in the past, he's very hot and cold. Some games he'll have 0 fantasy points, other games he'll have 15. So that's why he fell a little bit, is because consistency, I think, is key in fantasy, especially if you want success. And then at number 30, I have Jesper Bratt. So Jesper Bratt here, I think, is going to have another really good season if Hughes can stay healthy. I think they feed off each other really well. Bratt is somebody who falls in the draft quite often, but he had 404 fantasy points, 5 averages, 21 goals, 67 assists, and he had 34 power play points. So huge power play horse there, and somebody I think will complement the team very well. So So that was pick 1 through 30. I'll finish 31 through 50 in the next episode. But hope you all enjoyed. Hope this was somewhat insightful, and we'll see you all in the next episode.